And welcome back to another edition of VADA Live. I'm your host, Dan Kerrigan. Today we have a special guest on, and it's Joe St. John, Chief Customer Officer at AutoFi. Joe, your resume is impressive. Longtime retail operator, trainer, strategist with experience in spanning everything from the sales desk to digital transformation, which is really what we're hoping to focus on today. And that national lens, Joe, of how dealers can really simplify that path to a sale, especially in today's environment. Of all times to be chatting about this, Joe. Welcome to VADA Live.
Well, thank you so much, Dan. I'm super excited to be here. I can't wait to be at the convention in a few weeks or a couple weeks in Virginia, and I'm really excited to have a conversation.
That is great, Joe. And we appreciate you mentioning VADA convention, which is at time of this recording just a few days away, and it's really exciting. More on VADA.com if you're interested in that. To really get our discussion going, Joe, so you've seen the evolution of retail from both the dealership floor side of things and the tech side. What's changed the most in how consumers just really expect to interact really with the sales team?
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful question, Dan. So for me, when I started selling cars in 1998, we didn't even have a CRM, right? Like I'm old school enough that like we would handwrite every customer on a desk log, and you would like handwrite your deals out on a like pad of paper that you would tear off that had like customer name, trade-in, like vehicle of interest, and it was like a worksheet. That's why it's called a worksheet. And so I've seen the full evolution from that methodology to now I'm at dealerships out there working car deals where literally salespeople will go to a customer, hey, Dan, and they turn and look at a big screen on their desk and you go, this is the vehicle we just drove. Is this the vehicle you'd like to own? And you go, yep. And they go, great, then let's build your deal together. So with 10% down at 60 months, here's what your payment looks like. Is that what you would like to do? Okay, 72. And they are interacting in this like completely different feeling digitized experience. And so for me, I would say that I think the shift has really been driven by the expectations and behavior of the customer, right? I remember in my early days as a sales manager, how big of a deal we would make it anytime someone had an internet customer. Like, oh, great, Dan's got an internet customer. It was almost like this anomaly. Like, I bet they've got the little file folder full of like all the stuff they've printed out. We're gonna be here forever. Like, we had almost this like pejorative lens at which we viewed internet customers. And if you look at like the most recent data coming out of, out of all the research that's being done, it's over 90% of customers are starting their car buying journey online. I mean, it's 9 out of 10, right? And on average, they're spending somewhere between 14 to 17 hours staring at a screen, doing research before they show up to the dealership. And what's wild to me is that, like, I think that's all driven by the way that we interact and consume everything in the world. Right, Dan, you hit a button on your phone and deodorant shows up at your house later today, right? Like you get online and you put your grocery order together and it shows up at your house, or you show up and they bring it out and put it in your car. Like there is this this world of just genuine instant gratification for consumers combined with like unrivaled and unparalleled access to information about what it is that they want to buy. Think about all the other industries that we've seen transformed as well. Zillow, right? Like when you buy a house, you don't just meet with a realtor that drives you around the houses. You're looking at houses and going, I want to look at this one, this one, this one. And my realtor who actually sold cars for me might go, okay, hey, Joe, but this one, I know it doesn't look in the pictures. You're going to love this house. Go look at it. And so I think it's where the intersection of technology to empower an informed customer-centric experience intersects with the experience delivered by a human that's being helpful in a very complex and in some ways like really opaque buying process. And so for me, I think that's the real transformation. It's really driven by the consumer expectations. And we've gone from consumers having no information to consumers having as much information as we have. And I think that as a dealer and as someone who's spent the vast majority of their career working in a dealership, I mean, we still operate as if we're holding all the cards. And like it's like we're still kind of operating in this environment where a lot of the word tracks that we're training and the road to the sale that we're teaching are kind of foundationally based on the cornerstone of us having a lot of information and a buyer not being very well educated. And I think that is fundamentally different today than it was even in the 90s when I started selling cars.
You mentioned the digital side of things. I think one core message we want to talk about, Joe, was the speed element of that. Everything moving fast. And think about that from the informed customer side, as you mentioned, and factoring that into the process, but also perhaps the expectation of faster deal times and better conversions. Any just thoughts there on those digital tools and how that's moving the needle? And I know F&I is also a big part of that as well.
Yeah, Dan, I think that's where the evolution is moving, right? So the technology is really unlocking power on the showroom, in my opinion, to genuinely drive a significantly better customer experience, which leads to higher closing rates, which leads to better front-end grosses, leads to better back-end grosses. And I think that when I started selling cars, one of the first things that got yelled at me was like, hurry up, son, time kills deals. Because I was new and I was like, I don't know what to do. And I think that we have this adage in our business that we all understand really fundamentally that time kills deals, but time also kills gross, right? And what we're seeing, and I think one of the things that we train at AutoFi is, well, car deals don't happen like one at a time every hour on our schedule, right? It goes from crickets and we're all terrified we're not going to sell any cars today to like boiler room and there's like 10 deals working and we're all like, oh my God, what do we got? Ah. And what happens is you have this bottleneck that's created at the desk where I've got a line of salespeople in front of me. You're out bidding a car right now. And the processing pace is like the DMV. Like, let's be very clear, right? And if you're, as a former manager, it's never like an easy line of salespeople either. The first one's like, I don't know, get some real credit challenges. They got $1,000 cash, and I'm trying to find a used car to have them go show them. You know, second one is like a lease because we're switching to a lease because we landed them on way too much car, and we know that we're hundreds away from their payment. So we're going to show them the lowest payment we can with a lease. And if that doesn't work, now we'll down step. And then the third salesperson just got back from a test drive and their customer's super excited and they set them on the showroom to go get their first pencil. At most dealerships, it's taking 15 plus minutes to get that third salesperson a pencil. And there's a lot of dealers that in their head, I think they like, no, I'm not at my store. Well, yeah, dude, at your store too. Like, because it's time. It's like, it is what it is. And to a customer, I think that the number one complaint on CSI surveys today is the same that it's been for a long time, which is time, right? It takes too long. And what we're seeing is technology can enable a process that does, I think, really two wildly valuable things for a dealer, right? If worked properly and a salesperson touches the desk before they go on a test drive, they've got everything together. They know that the customer's got a high probability of like wanting to work a deal on this car. When they get back from that test drive, if the manager's done their job, they can give the salesperson a thumbs up. Salesperson can walk down, sit down and go, okay, Dan, let's review your car deal together. And they can immediately get into it. In doing that, you're signaling to the customer a couple of things. One, your time's important and we're not going to waste it. We're on top of things and doing things at the highest level here. And the other thing it does that I think is really powerful is technology can make the customer feel in control of the process and make the customer feel like it's their decision. I went to F&I school, it was like 2005. And one of the things that the trainer said that has stuck with me to this day is if I want somebody to say yes to a decision, it has to be their decision, right? If it's my decision or my idea, they're going to fight me on it. And the other thing that I think technology does that is leading to higher F&I grosses, higher front-end grosses, is it makes the customer feel like it's their decision. I worked for weeks out in the field selling cars using technology. And I heard customers say something to me, Dan, that I've never heard before. I would literally turn the screen and I'd go, okay, so with 10% down at 60 months, you're at a 783 payment. Is that what you would like to do? And they go, we'll put $5,000 down. Okay, $5,000 down. That changes your payment to a 687. Okay, go 72 months. Okay, 72 months, it changes here. Okay, put $10,000 down. Okay, $10,000 here. Okay, put $5,000 down. Okay, $5,000 put you to here. Okay, what's a lease look like? Okay, lease you're at here. No, go back to buy. Okay, back to buy. Okay, $5,000 down, 72 months. Okay, I'll do that one. Wait, What'd you just say? And the phrase, I literally want to get a t-shirt that says, I'll do that one. Like that literally is what I heard customers say over and over again, is they would play around with the data. And then it would feel like they had agency and control and they were doing math, and it wasn't us versus them. Like, Dan, think about it. Like if you go to a dealership today and sit on the like tower and you just watch deals, you will see customers come back from a test drive like, oh, this is like, they're laughing, they're taking a sip of their coffee, they sit down, salesperson disappears for 15 minutes, they come back. It's like a case of the body snatchers. You've got a customer that's like sitting there like this, like, how much longer am I going to be here? And that doesn't have to happen. We accept it because it's how we've always done things. But like, that's on, like, we can change that. And I can tell you this, as someone that has sold thousands of cars in my life, it is much easier to get somebody that looks like you right now, smiling and having a good time, to say yes to me than someone like those are two, my probabilities are wildly different. And so I think that it's the speed and it's the interactivity. You buy everything on the screen. You don't take a cab anymore. You hit a button and your Uber driver shows up and it's got like military grade tracking technology. And my wife knows where I am on a map as I'm being driven to my hotel, right? Like, it just impacts everything around us. The one thing I will say, and I know I have turned this conversation into a monologue of me getting excited about the questions you're asking me, but I have seen this really powerful dynamic with a digital pencil process on the sales floor. And that is this like ramp in F&I gross, even when there's nothing happening out there there's no F&I product discussions, there's nothing happening up front. Because I don't think everybody fully appreciates how much the like negotiation and deal fatigue that happens over an hour and a half of grinding on the showroom reduces your ability to make money in an F&I office, right? Imagine if every customer going into your F&I office had accepted a rate that was a point or two above buy rate, right? Or whatever your max markup was. They said yes, they were happy. And from the time they got back from the test drive to they're sitting in an F&I office was, I don't know, 25, 30 minutes versus an hour and a half to 2 hours. Like as an F&I manager, which one do you think I'm going to have a higher probability of success on? And so I think it's evolving really dynamically, and what's leading it is the dealers that are seeing what this technology can do and really leaning in to building their systems and processes around a model that's a little bit different than the gospel of the, like, you know, the 100-year-old road to the sale that we're all still following.
For what it's worth, Joe, what stuck out to me from the consumer side of things and what you mentioned with that experience and essentially walking through the numbers and the changes and what that payment would do to a rate, and the concept of credibility jumped into my mind of almost the dealer is now working with me to help through a problem. Help me with an issue, and I'm trusting the information they're giving me. It just seems like a very quick way to establish that credibility that can make all the difference.
It's different when you're playing with your money, right? Like, I leased my wife a Kia. She really wanted this very specific car. One of my best friends has a dealership here right down the street from me in Tulsa, where I live. It's 3 stores. One of them's a Kia store. And I was like, hey, I told him, I was like, I'm gonna go drive one of these things. I've been in the car business my whole life, right? The one thing I've always been told, and I've always told everybody, is like, dude, lease a car, let them worry about the depreciation. Right. And if you love it, buy it. Right. But don't ever put money down on a lease because you're basically setting your money on fire. I put $1,300 down on her lease because they used our tool, and I turned the screen to myself and they're like, Joe, just go build your deal. So I go build my deal, and I'm planning on like, okay, $1,000. What is that? Okay. $1,300 makes my payment $100 less than what we're paying right now. She'll say yes. Hey, babe, our payment's $100 less than what we're paying right now. What do you want to do? Get it. All right, cool. I'll get it. Hung up. Sign me up. The finance manager went through the F&I school I used to teach. I was an F&I trainer for years. He comes in, he's like, dude, are you putting money down on a lease? And I was like, yes, yeah, shut up. I know. Like, because it was me playing with my money, and the technology allowed me to come to a decision. Like, it's so wild how much the technology actually influences the buyer. And I think we underestimate that. And we think taking a sheet of paper and like writing all over, it's not the same as having it on a screen.
I have about 30 questions regarding that experience, Joe, but we'll let those lie for now. Maybe for a next segment and working with your wife on that. You had hinted at this, but diving in a little bit, struggling with inconsistency between the online experience and the in-store desk. It's one of those very simple to say, but sometimes that issue is really something that can affect a number of folks. What are some common breakdowns you see, and how can dealers help bridge that gap, again, from their digital side of things to their in-store?
Dan, I'm a guest instructor at NADA Dealer Academy, where I've been teaching for almost 7 years now.
Wow.
It's crazy to me. They may have just rolled over 7 years. And one of the things that I spend a lot of time really kind of like conversing with the students on is, if, like we said earlier, 9 out of 10 of my customers are online, then they're going to 1.2 to 2.3 dealerships physically before they buy a car, according to the 3 main studies that are out there. It means they're going to 1, maybe 2. When they show up to my dealership, they're showing up with the intent to buy, right? They've done a lot of research. They know what car they're interested in. Maybe it's 1 or 2 cars. They think they prefer this one. They're coming to validate, and if it makes sense, they want to buy that car. Where I think the breakdown happens is our entire world on the showroom revolves around the showroom. And so these managers that are so focused on what's happening on the showroom that they're not involved in all the things that are happening before the showroom. And a lot of times we outsource that to like an internet manager, a BDC manager, a BDC department. And their job is just to get the customer in the door, right? So a lot of times you have 2 focuses. And I joke at the Academy, our strategy digitally is clickbait plus harassment. Like, we're going to clickbait them, get them to click it, give us their information, then just call, hey, Dan, when do you want to come into the dealership? Hey, Dan, when are you coming in? Hey, Dan, what time would you like to come in? And so I think that like the problem with all of that is that you end up with a sales desk that is myopically focused on what's happening on the showroom, and they have zero involvement in influencing a customer that's reaching out to the dealership, trying to go further in the process before they show up so they can save time. And I think there's 2 real big examples of this, at least for me, that I think really drive the point home. One is, we did a big mystery shop exercise where we basically found in-stock units of inventory all across the country, and we sent in like website leads asking a very specific question. So like, hey, Dan, you've got the like Tundra pickup I want to buy. I currently have a Tundra on lease. My lease is due at the end of the month. I always lease because my accountant tells me to, because I run a roofing company. I'm slammed right now because of the big hailstorm we had. I just want to know what the payment is on this truck, and if it makes sense, I can be there Friday. I usually put about $5,000 down. I go 15,000 miles. I'm bullets for credit. And I put it in my name. Like, I just want to do as much of this as I can so I can show up, sign everything, and take my truck, right? And we send that out to everywhere. In most dealerships, an internet salesperson gets that and they're super excited. Like, I got a real lead. And then they recognize that there's a piece of information the customer's requesting them. And at the vast majority of dealerships, they have zero empowerment to give that customer that information. So they have to go down to a sales tower. And they go down the sales tower, and the sales manager basically tells them, I'm not interested in helping you unless that customer's at my dealership. I have no interest in helping you unless that customer's at my dealership. And so what we end up doing is basically giving the salesperson no power to do anything effectual. And we end up with like salespeople basically telling the customer, well, I can't really help you until you come into the dealership. We sent that out to over 100 dealers. We got 1 payment response. Everyone else was just, when can you come in? When can you come in? When can you come in? And I think the first disconnect is between the manager's perception of their responsibility to customers that aren't there and what their responsibility is for volume and gross. The second real example for me is in the world of digital retail, which according to NADA, about 91% of dealers are doing now. Every digital retail company has a link that gets sent in the comments or note section of the CRM on a lead that gets pushed in that you can click as a salesperson that will open into the tool and tell you everything the customer did. Because you tell things to computers all the time, Dan, that you would never say out loud. I think of my Google searches. I literally the other day, like, I give my information for free to a company like Google, and I'm way more comfortable telling Google stuff like medical symptoms than him calling you like, hey, Dan, I got this rash. It looks like this, right? Like, we're so comfortable sharing that information. So are your customers. They'll tell you, I want to buy ASAP. They'll type in what they think their credit score is. They'll do these things that if I asked them would offend them and they wouldn't want to do in a human interaction. All of that information is sent in a link, and that link shows up inside the CRM. And here's what's so sad to me is that across every digital retail provider out there, and I talk to all of them, the percentage of those links that gets clicked is so small, it's embarrassing. And I think that that's because we think of like those as a lead, not as a customer that's trying to buy a car. And I just need to set an appointment to get that customer on my showroom so I can go sell them something. And to me, I think that's where the breakdown starts, is our sales process doesn't start when they walk on the showroom and I give them a greeting. Our sales process starts the moment they click on my website or visit a cars.com lead or go to Auto Trader. That's when the selling process actually starts.
And Joe, appreciate your insights and chatting with us. As well, maybe one final question. So looking ahead, dealership operations, customer experience trends for dealers, what do they need to start preparing for now? What's your top line there?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. I think automation is going to continue to snowball. If you watch like the most recent Google AI video, like it's rapidly advancing. And I think that dealers should be thinking about how to leverage that to automate things that humans are doing that are low value so that humans can do their high value work. Example for me is like on the showroom, why are sales managers spending so much time doing math and sitting there waiting to change from 72 months to 84 months? Like, let's empower salespeople with bumpers and make it easy for them to not have to get up and leave their customer. And I think that's where a lot of companies like mine are investing all of their resources to build out tooling to support that, because I think that's really where it's going to go. And I think that dealers need to take that like Ritz-Carlton mindset. You don't like, I say the Ritz-Carlton in DC because it's a special rate for NADA and it's the same price as the regular Marriott. And I've stayed there for 7 years. And when I show up, I still book it through the app. I still get on the app and I book my room. But when I show up, they're like, hey, Mr. St. John, welcome back. How are you? How's the family? Like, so, and I think it's that intersection of like technology and humanity. And that's where dealers have to be putting their focus.
Joe, appreciate you sharing your time, insights, and expertise. For all those listening and watching, you were joined by Joe St. John at AutoFi, and you've been watching VADA Live. I'm Dan Kerrigan, and we'll see you next time.